right. Welcome to day one of the modern art of war. It's the same day as the last video, but what if it's darker? It's later. That intro about reading Reyes coming back. I think one of the things I forgot to mention is like I'm in the process of like trying to master my mind. That I reference. I know that in the video I kind of referenced like in the past who I was. I thought I was a good dude, and I really wasn't. And so it's important to constantly be exploring ourselves. Self awareness is such a powerful informative thing that is a catalyst for change to behavior. And so, if I have to look at my integrity, for example, then I have to look at it. I have to sit with it. I have to remember that there was a time in my life where my mind was tricking me into believing certain things. And that's really the journey of healing trauma is what stories did I tell myself based on what happened that still run the program, that still run the show, that still captain the ship, that still decides how I'm going to behave. And to garner that awareness is huge because mastering the mind is everything. And let's not be dismissive of the power of the ego, the subconscious mind, and the nervous system. The three amigos just coming together to just make sure nothing changes because their job is just survival. And if you change, you risk survival. It makes no sense, but that's how they work together because they think whatever's happened up until now, that's how we made it up until now. So why would you change anything? And our hearts is like, dude, we need to fucking change. So here we are. Day one, the modern art of war. Now, favor, patience, please. I read a little slower than I did before. Like I said, I'm partially blind in my left eye. Creates little spots that hinder the clarity of my vision on my left eye. So as I'm reading, sometimes I gotta like make sure that it says trust or truest. I need to like take a double take. So just patience, but I promise I will make it worth it for you. Valuable. This is just kind of like my essence and who I am. If you're someone that used to watch a couple years ago, I would do this every single morning for an hour from I believe like 8:30 to 9:30 or 9 to 10, depending on when I showed up to my spot. But we're back. I used to do it live. Now I'm gonna pre-record it so that I can just upload it and you can watch it whenever. You don't feel like you miss out. But if you want to ask questions, something comes up for you, DM me or comment below and we'll go through it. All right. So, The Modern Art of War by Hunter LeGuar. Sun Tzu's Hidden Path to Peace and Wholeness. To fight and conquer consists of breaking the mind's resistance without fighting. Sun Tzu. To fight and conquer consists of breaking the mind's resistance without fighting. Okay. All right. I like the tone that quote sets. Getting started. Sun Tzu's Hidden Path to Peace and Wholeness. The first and best of victories, the lowest and worst of defeats, which each person gains or sustains at the hands not of others, but of himself, shows that there is a war against ourselves going on within every one of us. Plato, Laws, Book 1. From the time Sun Tzu's Art of War was first translated in 1782 by the Jesuit priest Joseph Amiot, it has been received by the Western world as a military treatise, Treatise. That's also something I do. I don't know every word, Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce it, so I work through it real time. Okay, so work with me. Treatise feels right. I could be wrong, totally wrong. As a military treatise, as a tactical how-to guide for waging war on a battlefield. It has served military strategists for the last 2,600 years, all the way through to modern times, where business managers and other professionals have used its tactics against competitors. But what if the book had a different purpose and was never intended for generals or CEOs, but really for the common, everyday person seeking greater meaning in their life? Contrary to the customary view, Sun Tzu was hardly a military general, but a spiritual advisor, a mythic or sage. A mystic or sage who authored an inspired treatise on matters related to the war going on in the mind and used the commonest of military combat prevalent at the time it was written, as a symbolic allegory to talk about it. Likewise, the treatise, though thoroughly misrepresented throughout history, wasn't written for a king, but for the common people. Its message simple: the hidden path to peace and wholeness. No authorship was ascribed to Art of War, for to do so would be to suggest there was still an I, or self, present. Instead, what was passed on to the modern age by historians as Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, follows the tradition of philosophical teachers like Lao Tzu, Homer, or Vyasa, author of the Bhagavad Gita, even to suggest Sun Tzu was male would be to impose an identity on this unknown author, in keeping with tradition of symbolic authorship, and to encourage the idea that we're all master sons. This book will refer to Sun Tzu as she, he, they, interchangeably, to not only support Sun Tzu's inclusive teaching, but to further dismantle preconceived notions of the unknown teacher. I kind of like that. I just finished reading Conversations with God, and it was audio. And in the audiobook, it would flip from a male's voice to a female's voice, and it was pretty cool. It would catch me off guard sometimes, and it started making me really. I loved how it made me think about God. You know, most of us, especially in the Western world, are conditioned that God has a masculine thing about God, and that it's a he and a him. And I really enjoyed that part of that book. So we'll see what happens with this one. The Modern Art of War, Sun Tzu's Hidden Path to Peace and Wholeness, offers readers a new interpretation of Sun Tzu's art of war, one that explores the ancient wisdom of self-discovery through the truest art of war, the fight to control your mind and the thoughts that rule it. These lessons come with a unique set of tools and exercises that can be applied in a gradual progression of steps that when mastered, can ultimately guide the average person to live an abundant life through inner peace. The book, as a whole, is an invitation, an opportunity to conquer the enemies threatening the kingdom of inner peace. When we attain serenity, our natural state, our life takes on new meaning. We can begin to live with greater harmony, kindness, unity, and equanimity, which trickles into everything we do, making our life and subsequently our world a more harmonious place. That's the hidden message of Art of War. This gentle wisdom, as originally intended by Sun Tzu, has been rewritten in its entirety and presented as a new work in these pages. The origins of the Sun Tzu myth. To get you started, it's important to know that Sun Tzu belonged to a family of military experts or a family guild that re- reported to Holu, king of the of the Wu province in China. Someone in the 5th century BCE, impressed by the many battles won, Holu appointed Sun Tzu as the general to his army, and as the story goes, Sun Tzu later composed the treatise Art of War after years of continued military success. What may not be really known is that each family guild owned the military information or skill they they'd specialize in this case, war tactics and strategies, and then pass the knowledge on only to the descendants, usually orally and through practice, similar similar to the medieval blacksmith training their kin to meld iron in a specific time honored way. Why then, if Sun Tzu's war strategies were owned and highly valuable, even guarded by the family guild, would Sun Tzu write them down, essentially giving away the family secrets? If we regard the guild as continuing job security, then to share information would be to give the competition the advantage, severely reducing their ability to survive long term. As the army's general, if Sun Tzu had shared her leading war strategies, then it would have hindered her own advancement, ruined her reputation, and even made her replaceable. Equally, if King Holu had truly commissioned Sun Tzu to create the ultimate battlefield workbook to make him a great ruler, able to conquer vast lands, then he would have rewarded Sun Tzu with enormous wealth and a healthy legacy, including lands and title. Additionally, Sun Tzu's successes might have then been recorded in greater detail, similar to that of other historically celebrated and remembered military generals, such as Miyamoto Musashi, known for the Book of Five Rings. Hey, I heard about that book. On the list. If Sun Tzu was such an acclaimed general, why aren't there more records of his winnings and legacy? If, however, Sun Tzu wasn't a general but a mystic in the tradition of other philosophical masters, then the information would have been written and preserved by her students, able to interpret the hidden wisdom with one purpose: to alleviate the suffering of human existence through the practice of taming the disquieted mind. Over time, as the Sun Tzu lineage and school died out its understanding was lost to the majority of people until rediscovered, only to be misled until now. Centuries of misinterpretation. Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu's Art of War is certainly not the only inspired wisdom that has been misinterpreted through the ages. Coded philosophical texts have existed for centuries in human history, many of which have been reduced to, to surface story or flourished only as a myth, thus deemed untrue, leaving the deeper leaving the deeper between the lines interpretation to be abandoned or lost. But how does the originally intended meaning get overlooked in the first place, and why hide it? One idea is that most sacred texts contain two interpretations, one morally and one philosophical, inspired wisdom. Generally speaking, the moral story is right at the surface, exoteric, and easily understood by the reader, as it focuses on the ethics and virtues essential to daily life. Usually, the reader stops at this interpretation, though, if given more thorough examination, a secondary, allegorical, hidden message, esoteric, can be discovered and usually engages the knowledge of human origins and existence. It is likely that those who'd originally heard of Art of War had a more profound understanding of its meaning, one that went beyond physical wars and battles to its hidden strategies to conquer this disquieted mind, to win victory through self-mastery, whereby inward peace can prevail. Over time, as people migrate or are conquered, new ideas come and go, and the original practices can get lost or misinterpreted in the process. When rediscovered, they're not always read with any foreknowledge of their purpose or understanding of the philosophical context in which they've been originally written. Both interpretations, esoteric, exoteric, have meaning and importance while serving two different types of students. The beginning seeker and students who've, the beginning seeker and students who've made a heartfelt commitment to advance on this particular path and teaching. Teachers of inspired wisdom, like Sun Tzu, recognized and understood that the human struggle that exists in uncovering the path toward unlimited potential available to everyone. I misread that, I think. But rather than give both types of students all of the information at once, which could be counterproductive or misused, they introduced a series of steps to make the work manageable to ensure victory. Sun Tzu explains why this is important in the opening chapter, laying plans. Knowing beforehand what challenges are to come will turn the weak student away. By organizing and concealing the teaching as a progression of steps, it also allowed students to learn, practice, and master the material without being easily deterred by challenges and failure, or to give up and quit altogether. In mathematics, a student wouldn't begin calculus before learning to add and subtract. So too, a student of Sun Tzu's would approach the practice of wholeness in a methodical way to encourage their success over the long term. Likewise, hiding the inspired teachings preserved its purity, especially for those students who made a sincere commitment and held the teaching as sacred and valuable, a treasure for the gift it would ultimately bring witness through the experienced master's teaching. It goes without saying that it also kept the text from being destroyed or altered by an opposing religion, culture, or political attitude, as was nearly the case for Art of War. It only survived because its subtle spiritual truths had been disguised as a war treatise and shared among the growing military class. Since it was not deemed a religious text, it avoided being burned alongside other sacred books during a government sanctioned purging. Sun Tzu, the master son. It is valuable to know that Sun Tzu's story is shrouded in allegory, providing further evidence of Art of War's inspired and philosophical value over a military one. She was born with the name Sun Wu, meaning Sun War, and later took the title of Sun Tzu, or Master Sun. In Art of War, to be master of the sun is to be one who is self aware, or one who walks in oneness with constant awareness along the hidden path to peace and wholeness. Traveling the highest mountain peak above the clouds, beyond the earth realm and shrouded mysteries of the moon, ascending to the sun. It's like this little poem that's in the middle. To be a master son implies to the student that they can also overcome ordinary existence by winning mastery over their own mind. As legend explains, the master son was the employee of Ho Lu of the Wu province, Wu meaning war. Through Ho Lu is a historical person. He's used in the in the Sun Tzu myth to create familiarity with the contemporary listener, to allegorically convey to the student that the sun must battle the warrior's mind to ascend earthly perception. I'm sorry, no. Let me read that again, okay? I'm going to reread that. I feel like I chopped that up, and that's not fair to you. As legend explains, the master son was in the employ of Ho Lu of the Wu province, Wu meaning war. Through Ho Lu is a historical person. He's used in the Sun Tzu's myth to create familiarity with the contemporary listener, to allegorically convey to the student that the sun must battle the warring mind to ascend earthly perception. Historically, the era that preceded Ho Lu's reign was called the State of the Sun, which ushered in a treaty that gave a reprieve from war for several hundred years. One might argue that even the time in which Sun Tzu was recorded to have been born was also part of the allegory. The, quote, state of the sun, end quote, symbolizes the perfect state or union with a source of all things, which, figuratively, descends into the human body or material consciousness of delusion as represented by the rule of the Holu state of Wu or war. Adding to the mythological nature of Sun Tzu, there is a well known story about how Sun Tzu impressed Holu and gained an appointment as his chief military strategist. After hearing of Sun Tzu's talent, King Lu asked the master to submit to a test. If Sun Tzu could train the female servants in the art of war, then the king would make her commander of his army. Sun Tzu agreed, then appointed two female servants as leaders of larger factions of women soldiers. He commanded the leaders to turn right, then left, front and back. But the women simply giggled. Sun Tzu reportedly said, quote, "If the commands and orders are not clearly given and understood, then the general is to blame," end quote. He tried again, only to have the same result. Sun Tzu said, quote, "If the commands and orders are clearly given and understood, then the soldiers is to blame." With that, Sun Tzu beheaded the two female servants. He wasn't finished. Next, Sun Tzu appointed two more female leaders and began to execute his orders, which were followed to the letter. King Lu, seeing the soldier women disciplined and ready for battle in such a short time, appointed Sun Tzu as the general of his armies. The story, more fable than historic fact, propelled the reputation of Sun Tzu into the memory of military leaders across history. Yet, at the heart of the gentle text lies the battle, not for physical war, but war for a united and free kingdom within the mind. Wow, that's powerful. Beneath this literary story is the secret knowledge of attaining conscious awareness, or more simply, to engage self-awareness or mastery as a constant state. It suggests peeling away the veil of a dually perceived existence to recognize one that's ever present and whole. Once revealed, we are given greater power to sustain our natural state of mental balance, free of stress, worry, doubt, fear, in favor of balanced living through joy and unity. Since we are no longer seesawing between two states of consciousness or various emotions, instead, we maintain and dwell in a state of constant balance, the ultimate freedom. I want to read the last couple of sentences because even the way I read them was off. And I think it's important if when you read it the right way, it actually makes the right sense. Let me try it again. Once received, we're given greater... I'm going to read the whole paragraph again. Beneath this literary... oh, God. Beneath this literal story is the secret knowledge of attaining conscious awareness, or more simply, to engage self-awareness or mastery as a constant state. It suggests peeling away the veil of a dually perceived existence to recognize one that's ever present and whole. Once revealed, we're given greater power to sustain our natural state of mental balance, free of stress, worry, doubt, fear, in favor of a balanced living through joy and unity, since we are no longer seesawing between the two states of consciousness or various emotions. Instead, we maintain and dwell in a state of constant balance, the ultimate freedom. If we apply this idea to the female servant's story, we can see that Sun Tzu didn't literally behead the female servants, but instead cut off the root of the dual ego. The head, thereby delivering the foundation of discipline from which self-mastery of wholeness is attainable. In doing so, it puts Sun Tzu, the master son, in charge of all the army's senses. In the warring land, the mind, with her steadfast orders and direction, volition, the land, intuition, was at peace, wholeness. I gotta read that paragraph again, okay? Listen, so he's talking about the story about the two servants that he gave orders to. They just giggled and laughed. And then he told them, if the general gives unclear orders and bad direction, then it's the general's fault. And then he gives the orders again, clearly. They still laugh and don't do anything. And then he tells them, if the general gives clear orders and directions and then the soldier doesn't follow the orders, then it's the soldier's fault. And then beheads the two servants. So that's the context of what's being said now. That it didn't actually happen. And more so, what it represents is, if we apply this idea to the female servant story, we can see that the Sun Tzu didn't literally behead the female servants, but instead cut off the root of the dual ego, thereby delivering the foundation of discipline from which self-mastery of wholeness is attainable. In doing so, it put Sun Tzu, the master son, you, in charge of all the armies. Armies represent our senses. In the warring land, the mind, with her steadfast orders and direction, volition, the land, your intuition, was at peace, wholeness. Fucking love books. Symbolism in Sun Tzu's work. As many books exist today that expound on the military or surface meaning of Sun Tzu's work and hold a distinct purpose in world history, in the modern art of war, I will only be concerned with exploring the timeless, long hidden, esoteric, philosophical wisdom that Sun Tzu's treatise provides, far from earthly battles to win earthly success and riches, but rather one with far greater importance, the control of one's mind. What makes modern war of art special is that it's unconnected to any one tradition or dogma, and therefore it does not come with limitations of separation, providing instead inclusion and accessibility. All are welcome here. This teaching is for the student of any origin, at any level, from any walk of life, to guide and instruct and to offer support along the life path of self-discovery. Because of this freedom, we can live more freely and directly engage our greatest need to trust our hidden teacher or warrior, to embrace a peaceful life exactly where we are, even if you have failed 100 times before. Sun Tzu offers you an unadulterated space to be in order to reconnect and discover the hidden part of you like a warrior that is that is 100% beautiful. Oh, I'm excited. I'm fucking excited, mates. I'm fucking excited. I want to see something. I always like to get a little idea of where we're at with the reading. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Okay. And let me see how long. How long? All right. I think we're gonna stop there for right now. Actually, let me finish reading this part because it's still part of symbolism in the Sun Tzu work. Okay. I'm going to read this last part and then we'll stop at the many faces of war. Going forward, as we engage the 13 chapters, we'll uncover the meaning behind the basic code or symbolisms, or symbols Sun Tzu used to talk about the disquieted mind. In doing so, you will then be able to discern what is most valuable to you and what to apply directly to your life. In this way, the book can be reread over a lifetime. As you change and grow, you'll discover one meaning one day and then read the same passage again years later, and they may have another meaning. Teachers like Sun Tzu sought to guide and assist based on their own individual experience, but it's still very much the student's path to master, one that is distinct though often inevitably shared by others. To start, there are quite a few symbols that need interpretation that will serve you while reading. As Sun Tzu, using the world of military strategy to explore the mind and consciousness, we can view the secondary meaning behind the words to mean. The state, for example, means the self as a whole or union of consciousness. War means the conflict between the lower self and the higher self. Also, the practice of observation. Battlefield means the terrain of the mind. The enemy, the disquieted mind or conscious thoughts, emotions, perceptions, the ego that perceives the material world as real or unchanging. It's what will keep the student from finding their inner sun. It more often suggests one's conscious self that would keep the intuitive or higher self from attaining freedom and can be broken down into desires and earthly concerns. That's the enemy. The general, the student on the path, one's ability to discern and act. Note that we don't begin the journey as a foot soldier, but as a general in command. This is very important and suggests our daily life and pursuits are in our capable hands. The army, the mind's defensive warriors, like conscious awareness or intuition, intuitive unfolding, that wage battle in the material realm against its, quote, enemies, thoughts, emotions, perceptions. The last three, plans. This means the gentle way or path to succeed in bringing harmony to the misled perception or the lowered and higher self. Heaven, this means yin or higher consciousness. Earth means yang or lower consciousness. So that's where we'll stop today. I know I had a bookmark, but we'll stop there. That's it's pretty awesome. Let me see actually one more thing. Yeah, we'll stop there. All right, we'll stop there. I know I had a bookmark. I don't know what I did with it. But anyways, we have started officially. We're back on for reading Reyes. I hope that was a chill little warm-up. That was about 40 minutes or so exactly. And I'll be coming back tomorrow for more. Stay tuned. See you guys then.